Boy, these Republicans are enraged at the pressure and the accountability that Ohio gun owners is heaping on top of them in spades. I'm Chris Dorr. I'm the director here for Ohio Gun Owners. Sitting here right next to me is
Rob Knisely, political director of Ohio Gun Owners. What's up, everybody?
yeah, glad to have you guys here. I'm just gonna jump right into it because some of these Republicans in name only, RINOs as we disaffectionately call them, are absolutely enraged. They are rage posting about trying to get out from under the pressure and the accountability that we are heaping on them in spades for them joining the Democrats to vote no on removing Ohio's restrictions on SBRs and suppressors and short-barreled shotguns. But I just want to jump right into one thing first and foremost. Ohio gun owners, we advocate for the Second Amendment. We are a member-funded and driven organization. We use human resources, we use financial resources to fight for you and you alone. And we've built this into a great, big, massive patriot army that is more than happy to be involved in this fight. That's our job. Then the establishment gets pissed off because we actually do our job and we don't renege and end up representing them back to you. We force votes. We expose bad votes. We tell gun owners exactly what these politicians are doing in Columbus, and their response that we're seeing all over the place right now is to attack the members and supporters of Ohio gun owners for joining together to make these people or to hold these politicians accountable. They desperately want you focused on us right now instead of what they are doing.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, this legislature raises the signature requirements for citizens trying to referendum data centers. They restrict public records involving data centers. They hand out tax giveaways to data centers while ordinary Ohioans are watching their property taxes and their electricity prices and their food prices soar through the roof. They sit on their hands while flock cameras are going up on every single street corner to track Ohioans. They hand out $600 million to the Cleveland Browns for a football stadium. And they do all of this while bending over backwards for their billionaire donors and the trillion-dollar corporations that they own. But what's the establishment's big concern right now? Let's go attack Ohio gun owners because they're raising money to fight for their members on the Second Amendment.
right.
Get the hell out of
All
here. Oh,
because
yeah,
all
go
because
ahead.
we're just highlighting the vote they took, the anti-gun vote that they took. It just the whole thing just boggles my mind, Chris, because these are the people that cast those votes, and because we're highlighting that vote, now they're upset. Well, then maybe you should have just voted the right way then.
Yeah.
What are you upset about
Ohio
us
wouldn't have
for?
the yeah, we wouldn't have the problems that we have right now. But we're gonna drill in here again on Heidi Workman because she's clearly the most vocal one of these Republicans that is angry that we're exposing what she did. And we're gonna flip the money script here for a minute. Heidi says, I work for the people I represent, not the lobbyists. OGO is just looking to pad their pockets. The Dorr brothers are making money off of a righteous cause. Let's just forget all that and throw it out the window for a minute here. And let's flip the script and look at Heidi Workman's what do you call them, claims in this process here. We don't apologize for getting paid to do this job, never going to. So we're going to flip the script here and let's examine Heidi Workman as an example. Now, this is likely going to apply to every one of these Republicans that stabbed gun owners in the back by joining the Democrats to vote no on the Freedom to Carry Act. But we're going to take a look at Heidi Workman's numbers here now to show you just how not she is supported and bankrolled by her actual district. We're going to show you through these numbers how she is essentially bought and paid for, how she can't make her own decisions on gun bills because she's totally in debt to the political establishment in Columbus, particularly Matt Huffman, the speaker. And we're just going to jump into it here.
Yep.
So, Rob is the numbers guy. He's got it down over there. Rob, why don't you just jump right into some of the big numbers here?
Yeah, I quite frankly, for a grassroots campaign, supposedly grassroots campaign, I was pretty shocked when I started looking at the contributions record that her political campaigns received. Because, when I think of a grassroots campaign, I don't think about over $200,000 from the Ohio House Republican Alliance, which is the caucus, the Ohio House Republican campaign arm, or the Ohio.
AKA Matt Huffman's
Yeah,
election
and of course,
tool.
yeah, keep in mind, Matt Huffman is in charge of all of this here. And then
Yeah.
another, roughly $100,000 from the Ohio Republican Party State Candidates Fund. So, which is another fund that's heavily influenced by the Capitol Square, the Columbus Cartel, Matt Huffman. And then you layer on top of that, from Matt Huffman's own personal campaign account, sent Heidi Workman about $31,000. Which I think, Chris, if I remember right from the research, I think that was like almost half of
Mm-hmm.
all the money that her campaign has received came from the establishment, the caucus, or Matt Huffman directly, which is, that you could tie them
Yeah.
all back to Matt Huffman.
Yeah. So you got like a campaign that had about 500 and close to $550,000 that were contributed to it. 83% of it, or 88% of it, I think it was, came from contributions of $1,000 or
Yes,
more.
that's right.
So those are like heavyweight donors. Only less than 2% of Heidi Workman's campaign contributions came in at $100 or less.
Yeah.
That tells you that there is no grassroots support there. It's coming from the Ohio House Republican Alliance. I
Well, and
think, would you
I just
just
want to highlight that for a minute, Chris, because I think what
yeah.
people need to understand about the Ohio House Republican Alliance and some of these Republican, slush funds, is that, who puts money into those funds that then goes to these candidates like Heidi Workman? It's the donor class, it's the lobbyists, it's the other politicians themselves moving money around. So, when you say, oh, you got 100 grand from the caucus, what you're really saying is you got $100,000 from the donor class that's giving money
Exactly.
to the politicians, that then the politicians give money from their campaign accounts to this giant fund that then, just pushes money around all over these candidates. So
Yeah, and
those are the kind of
Huffman,
people, the kind of sources that are funding, all this apparatus.
right. It's Huffman who's going out there and
Yeah.
having these fundraisers with all of these building unions that are putting up all the data centers all over the place. There's massive, I want this to be very clear, there's massive amounts of data center money flowing into Republican campaign coffers right now. So Huffman's out there, he's having these fundraisers and collecting huge amounts of money from these builders that are going to get personally enriched throughout this process, and they're making an investment in the majority party to make sure that the grassroots concern, anger, frustration about these things, they're investing in Huffman and his campaign operation to mitigate any damage that we the people can do in their attempts to just totally pilfer the resources of the people of Ohio. So like you said, like ORA, or Ohio House Republican Campaign or Alliance, dumped in 120 grand. The GOP State Candidates Fund dumped in like 105,000. Hoffman
Yeah.
himself dumped in 31 grand into it. That's like $250,000. That's like 40. It's like 46% of all the contributions are coming in from those three,
Just those three.
like, entities.
And that's before you get into direct contributions from lobbyists, industries, certain PACs affiliated with, like, certain industries or companies, or, that's before all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Another one, and Rob, you're the one who found this out, but another person that dumped thousands of dollars into Heidi Workman's campaign was a guy named State Senator Jerry Serino. Jerry Serino is the lone Republican in the entire Ohio General Assembly that voted no on permitless carry.
Yep.
And yet he's dumping money into Heidi Workman. So I mean, and if, I think we took a look at it, Rob. What did you tell me? I think like 64
It was like,
grand or something, huh?
what's that for who?
Yeah, like some of these political affiliated, like Hoffman, Phil Plummer, Stewart, Serino. These guys dumped like a total of like $65,000
Yes.
into her,
Yeah, 60, that's
into
it.
her
60, about
campaign.
65,000. You're right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and so when this Freedom to Carry Act vote comes up, and Speaker Huffman and his chief of staff, what is his name, Mike Ditto, when they're going around working the legislature and saying, "Don't you dare vote yes on this amendment. Don't you dare back Jennifer Gross's play to get this bill on the floor." Who do you think she's going to answer to? Matt Huffman literally paid for her to come to the dance.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Of course she's not gonna. Yeah, I mean, of course somebody like that's not. I mean, if you think about it, folks, if someone hands you almost over $200,000, basically, whether either giving it to you through the caucus or through the state party fund, and it's like, here's 200 grand. Are you
right.
really
It's
gonna
the
vote?
same establishment.
Exactly, the same people, the same circles, everything. Are you really
Yeah.
gonna vote against the person who either gave it to you or set that up?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. So here's Heidi Workman bringing money into this conversation, and that's what we have to do, is come here and show you all of these entangling financial relationships. They get the establishment in Columbus, and we just wrote this in an email that got sent out a little bit ago. They're in a rage that gun owners in this state are organized behind an organization that refuses to take their bullshit. They're so very used to every entity out there that claims to represent the grassroots or represent their members. They're so very used to co-opting them, and then making those organizations their advocates back to the interest group that they're supposed to represent. We see this
yep.
all the time in politics. We have the existing other gun rights organization that historically had done that exact same thing. But then you peel back the onion a little bit, and the real picture starts to take place here. This isn't a grassroots funded campaign. This is a Columbus cabal funded campaign,
Yeah.
and they control the shots.
Yeah, and I think I was just reading also that because we were talking about like industry packs and things like that. It looks like if you were to add all those up together, that'd be roughly like $55,000 just in like industry packs, other in pack money just in general that was also given to her campaign. So you layer on the caucus money, the money from these other legislators in the state house, and then you layer on all these pack and special interest contributions. I mean, we're talking, what would that be? Over 400 grand probably.
Yeah.
Just in that alone.
And then the quid pro quo kicks in, right? Like,
Yeah.
after the establishment arranges all of this money to flood into her campaign account, then the quid pro quo starts in the sense that then she's told, well, now that you have that money, maybe you don't need it for this campaign right now. Turn right around and give some of that money to OROC. Send some more over to the Ohio House Republican Alliance. You handle those things. And we took a look at that too. And that shows that the relationship is totally linked together. When the money comes in from the establishment and then it gets shuffled around to other entities like this, that's her telling the leadership, telling the donor class, I am an absolute team player.
Yep.
You can rely on me to do whatever the leadership wants me to do. So Rob, do you have some of those numbers? Because I thought there was like over 100 grand there.
I'm looking now. I remember what you're talking about though, and
Yeah.
It's
I mean, the number that I have in my head was that she had paid like OROC like 50,000
Yes,
bucks.
that's right. Yeah, 50,000. I think she paid OROC twice, or she because I think OROC changed names to ORA, right? I think there was a name
Yeah,
change, so it was like
House Republican Alliance.
50
Yeah,
grand to OROC when it was OROC, and then another 50 grand to ORA. So 100. So whatever money basically she didn't spend, I'm assuming then she just rolled it right back into the caucus.
yeah,
And then that money,
yeah,
then so all this money is just totally incestuous because they send the money to her, she uses it, and what she doesn't use gets sent back, and then all these candidates and groups are just kind of just shuffling this money around. It's it's very interesting, and
yeah.
totally corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole point here is she wants to sit here and say that we do X, Y, and Z, that we're just out here fundraising. Meanwhile, we're the only organization in the state who is actually standing up and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there was a legitimate gun vote by offered or amendment offered by Representative Jennifer Gross that followed the rules, that was filed on time. It would have fixed the problem with and would have wiped the current restrictions on suppressors and SBRs right off the books in Ohio. That bill comes to the floor, and and we're pointing out the fact that these people said they were going to vote yes,
Right.
but they in fact voted no. And then and then she's turned around and accusing us of being the frauds. The question is, who the hell are you representing when you go down there, wholly owned, lock, stock, and barrel by the
Yep.
entire Republican establishment, and and everything about it is reflected and manifested that very day on June 10th when she joined the Democrats at the orders of Matt Huffman and voted to kill the amendment.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, I mean, that's why
unbelievable.
following the money is so important because, if you were to just take Heidi Workman at her word, you'd think she's the most pro Second Amendment person there is, and but that's
Well, she
why when a
posted a
politician,
photo of herself holding a rifle,
yeah,
Rob.
yeah,
Isn't
exactly,
that
yeah, that means
conclusive
she's
proof?
super pro gun, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's why you have to follow the money, and when these politicians say something, you have to ask yourself every single time you see something like that. You've got to say, if I believe them and look at attack Ohio gun owners instead, well, how does it benefit them? It
Yeah.
benefits them because now you're not using that magnifying glass and looking at them and their vote, because keep in
Yeah.
mind all this stemmed from a vote that she took against your gun
Exactly.
rights. That's how this
Exactly.
all
And
started. And the fact
yeah,
that she,
and part and I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish your
I
thought
was just
there.
going to say, and the fact that she doesn't even have the guts to defend her own vote. She'd rather attack us. For just mentioning like, hey, she voted this way. Hey, just wanted to let you know she voted this way. You should know that. Well,
Right.
now,
And she flat out lied in that
yeah,
post. I did a video on this yesterday, Rob. She flat out lied in that post and said that that what we had the amendment was out of order.
yeah,
In
I
fact, I
saw
think
it.
I still might have that. Hang on, I'll show it right here. Hang on a second.
Yeah,
The Representative Chair recognizes Representative Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to amend with amendment number 1363085.
Amendments in order. Proceed.
There. Like
there it is.
she outright lied and said that we didn't follow the process. This is the rules that she voted yes on. It happens all of the time. The speaker himself said the amendment was in order.
Yeah,
But I think,
he didn't
Rob,
say he didn't rule it out of order. Didn't say it wasn't germane, not constitutional. There are multiple ways that a speaker can shut down an amendment before there's even a vote on it, and he didn't do
yeah, for
any of them.
sure. Like
He didn't
like
do any of
normally the
them.
majority floor leader, in this case, Marilyn John, would stand up and say, Mr. Speaker, I question the germaneness of this amendment. And then the speaker himself would issue a finding on whether or not the amendment was germane to the underlying bill. But again, it was a public safety committee bill. This is a public safety amendment that's in the same committee. I mean, everything about it was totally above board and according to the House rules. But I think you touched on this a moment ago, Rob. The goal here by these people is projection, by them wanting the microscope to be on us for doing the fabulous work that we do for our members. They want the people to not be taking that microscope back to them. And one of the I mean, one of the biggest non-gun issues that we hear from our members on a constant basis is, number one, the data centers, and number two, flock cameras. And so many people are enraged about the idea of just accepting a surveillance state under the guise of safety. Like,
Right.
we spent like years there during the COVID era, rejecting this idea that government knows what's best for you and your families, and we're not willing to give up liberty and freedom in order to achieve some kind of a dystopian safety nanny state. So we hear about data centers and flock cameras and stuff from our people all the time, but that's where, like, you keep digging into these numbers. We found, I think it was like $55,000 worth of easily identifiable trade and labor and professional industry, like political arms of those entities that were also dumping money into her
Yep.
campaign. Like the sheet workers, they had dumped like $14,000 into her campaign account. Like the Ohio Chamber, ABC Ohio PAC, like over $5,000 a pop. These are all entities that are personally getting rich off of the building of these data centers and everything.
Yeah.
And like I like to tell people, Rob, I think that and I actually got this from one of my buddies a couple of weeks ago. He's like, man, we are in the flip phone stages of this AI stuff. And when you marry all this stuff up together with a constant surveillance state, these are the same people that try to destroy this country during the lockdowns. We're not going to
Yep.
just sit here and say, oh, everything is going to be honky-dory. We can just let them pilfer the taxpayers, give them all the tax credits. Let's have the taxpayer build out all of the infrastructure and give them 30-year, 50-year tax abatements. So we hear about this stuff all the time. But here's somebody like Heidi Workman, and I assume that this would very likely apply to the majority of these people. Here they are on the take. Do you see the hypocrisy of this situation?
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
it's unbelievably and angering. It's just,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So
Yeah, I know. And I feel bad because, Chris, I've looked at so many, maybe, I've looked at so many different, politicians and campaign contributions and things like that. So maybe I'm a little numb to it now, but it is super enraging when you have people that are saying, "Oh my gosh, how dare these people criticize me for this vote?" Meanwhile, they're refusing to take the log out of their own eye and
right.
look at the hundreds of thousands that people like Heidi Workman are receiving from all these different sources, lobbyists, the establishment, PACs, industries, special interests. And yet she's saying that people like us are the problem, that you are the problem for commenting on her posts about how she needs to vote pro gun or whatever. I mean, because like Chris said at the beginning of the video, when someone's attacking this organization, who they're really attacking is you, because you guys are this organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
One thing I want to point out, I don't think I did a good job of this yesterday, is that we are already seeing, and we are getting some of our state house sources that are saying this as well, that the whole goal, one of the main policy objectives of the Freedom of Carry Act was to completely eliminate Ohio's state level restrictions on owning SBRs, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and suppressors. There is certainly a conservative faction within the Ohio Republican General Assembly right now that wants to deal with all three of those things.
Yeah.
And they want to come back and vote on the Freedom to Carry Act. But we saw in Heidi Workman's own vote yesterday, she wants the answer to be, and I think I have it. I have her post text right here. Was it Senate Bill 214? I can't quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's saying that the solution here is to pass Senate Bill 214, which only deals with suppressors. And that's the back channeling information right now that we're getting from a lot of these, from our people adjacent to Cap Square, is that they don't actually want to fix this whole thing. They want to fix part of it so they can go back and campaign on it next time around and say, well, if you vote for me, we'll come back and remove the restrictions on SBRs. They only want to deal with suppressors. Heidi Workman herself said it right there in her
Yep.
post by saying pass Senate Bill 214. And
Meanwhile,
so,
you're going to have thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Ohio gun owners that could potentially be felons that are holding on to SBRs and short-barreled shotguns in the meantime.
right. I just get sick and tired of the fact that these people always want Ohio to be one of the last in the state to fix anything. Like when we first set out to
Yeah.
pass constitutional carry, everybody said, oh, you can't do it here. This is Ohio. It can't be done. We all like it, but it can't be done. And then we dropped a real constitutional carry bill, and then they amended it down to permitless carry only. It was going to our bill converted Ohio to concealed weapons license and divorced Ohio from federal law. They did the same thing with Stand Your Ground. They, instead of having the trifecta where you have removing the duty to retreat and you have civil immunity and you have criminal immunity, they got rid of both immunity provisions. And so you can still be Kyle Rittenhouse in Ohio.
Yep.
Because these people always want something more that they can campaign on. They never actually want to give you everything that you deserve. And that's what we're seeing right now with Heidi Workman in saying that she only wants to pass Senate Bill 214. The Freedom to Carry Act was the answer to this
Yep.
problem.
Yeah.
It's why we wrote the bill that way, Rob.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean,
Yeah.
we always are forward looking here at Ohio gun owners and making sure that we are pushing legislation that is full orbed, ready to go from day one, that will totally restore gun rights to the fullest extent that we possibly can.
Yeah. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
As a gun rights organization. And
speaking of what we're supposed to do, we also are supposed to hold people accountable when they vote against our gun rights. But sadly, this is the only organization you'll find that's willing to do that.
Yep. Well, you won't see the NRA coming out and scoring the amendment vote. You don't see Buckeye Firearms Association coming out and scoring those votes. Instead, what you see basically is just like the data centers and all these entities are capturing the Republican General Assembly with their campaign contributions. What you've seen also with in the gun rights community is a lot of those other organizations have been captured by the political class. They have their political stooges out there commenting and posting and trying to put the microscope on us, for which we apologize for nothing.
Yep.
We do great work here at Ohio Gunners. I said this to somebody yesterday. You know, people were never pissed off at what's his name, Wayne LaPierre. Remember, he used to run the NRA, Rob. People were never pissed off that Wayne LaPierre got paid $6 million a year. People were pissed off at Wayne LaPierre because he got paid $6 million a year and he didn't do his damn job. Instead, he was flying over to Europe with his pink flamingo girl and getting her apartments and going to Hollywood and getting all these suits and everything. That's all that stuff's still unfolding in court right now. All gun owners wanted them to do, the NRA to do, was to just do their job. And yet you don't see any of these legislators. None of them ever attacked those entities.
Yeah. And how dare we how dare we expect politicians like Heidi Workman who literally said at election time in writing, yes, I will support the Freedom to Carry Act. I will vote for it. I will co-sponsor it. I will even sponsor it. And how dare we expect them to actually do what they said? So,
well, and I think you actually touched on something that's very important there, Rob, because in many ways we are to help blame for this situation. Because don't forget, Heidi Workman came in a Republican primary where she primaried, I think it was Gail Pavliga, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. She primaried Gail Pavliga, and she signed our survey at the time and said that she wasn't going to be Gail Pavliga, who voted against the Second Amendment Protection Act. And so we mobilized the gun vote in her district and said, look, Heidi Workman is running against Gail Pavliga. Gail Pavliga voted no on your gun rights. Heidi Workman says she's going to vote yes on these bills. She's going to co-sponsor them. So she gets in. I mean, we mobilize the gun vote in her district. We tell everybody the difference between these two candidates. The district says, I'm not going with that person who voted against our gun rights. I'm going to go with this lady over here, Heidi Workman, because she says she's not going to be like that who voted with the Democrats. So Heidi Workman gets in. She co-sponsors the bill. But then when the time comes, she joins the Democrats and stabs the gun voters in her district in the back. That's the political hypocrisy here. So the fraud in the gun rights community would be if we were to sit there and say, oh, no, the Democrats voted this amendment down. These people are good people. Heidi Workman, she'll still probably come around. She's a lot better than Gail Pavliga. Gail Pavliga voted no on the Second Amendment Protection Act. Heidi Workman only voted no on the freedom to kill. You see what I'm saying? Like, as a gun rights organization, if we didn't call that out and hold them responsible right now, when it matters the most, we would be frauds.
Yeah.
We would be frauds. And we're never going to do that. We're never, ever going to sit there and become total pawns in this political establishment of Columbus, and try to represent them back to you guys, our members and supporters. That's not ever going to happen. So I'm just going to kind of end this video with a recap of what I said at the beginning. Rob, unless you have any other thoughts. I mean,
I was just gonna say, this is just. It seems like this is just like, the state, Columbus cabal, State House, and just anathema, or anathema to the grassroots. Just anemia right now, because like you've said at the beginning, Republicans have a lot of issues right now. There's a lot of things that they have just flat out refused to tackle. Or they either refuse to tackle them, they've given us half measures, or they're just flat out enemies on stuff like flock cameras, data centers. Obviously those aren't gun rights issues, but on lots of different issues, property taxes that people really care about. And and then to see Republicans like this lashing out at a gun rights organization because of a vote they cast. Meanwhile, they've got huge logs in their own eye when it comes to the money they've personally received, or the fact that people like Heidi Workman at the State House are making almost six figures a year to sit around, and folks, they haven't even been in session since June 10th. We're now at August 18th. That was over 2 months ago, and they're not coming back into Columbus for session again, at least fully scheduled until after the November general election. But you better believe those checks are still cashing. What's that?
That's such a slap in the face.
Yeah,
if these legislators were really pro-gun,
continue to do nothing for months. Meanwhile, they're attacking us through us.
Yeah,
because of things they have done, votes they have cast themselves.
Yeah, talk about political malfeasance and not reading the room. I pay attention to polls. Polls aren't always accurate, as we all very well know, i.e. 2016. But after a while, if there's a mountain of them, especially by some of the good pollsters, and we try to follow the best on the conservative right, but what a stupid thing for some of these Republicans to be attacking gun owners in advance of what is arguably going to be their toughest election of their potential 8-year term in the Ohio General Assembly. What the hell are you doing? Why don't you simply go out and put out a press release that says, hey, I'm calling on the Speaker of the House to immediately call the General Assembly back into session, and we're gonna pass the Freedom of Carry Act, and we're gonna do this for gun owners. I mean, that's it's like a ribeye issue for gun owners. And that's
so easy because you don't even have to do anything except put pen on paper, and that's it. I
Yeah.
mean, but even that at least shows that you're doing something for the
Yeah.
base, you know?
Yeah. It's political malfeasance of the highest order. And what it's gonna require then, it's gonna require even more amounts of money to be dumped in by these special interest groups, which they like the idea of that because then these legislators are are more owned by them, and everybody wins then because ultimately what's at stake here is access to the Ohio taxpayer trough.
Yep.
That's what they all want more than anything. These trillion-dollar companies, these billionaires who are building all of this stuff out, they want access to the tax dollar base in Ohio so that they can enrich themselves and they can build out a control state, a tyranny state, a surveillance state, and weaponize and monetize every single aspect of your life. It's like, has anybody actually thought about what would happen in a scenario where these companies, let's just for theory here, Rob, let's just say some of these these companies
Freudian slip.
don't have America's best interest at heart, right?
Yeah.
And and let's say we build out all of this infrastructure courtesy of the taxpayer, and then it's ultimately used against us. Like, has that story been written in human history before?
I think so. Because not only does history rhyme or repeat, it also rhymes sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so to casually dismiss some of these things and then like head into the biggest election that I've been a part of, I think these midterms are tremendously consequential. I think they're tremendously consequential because there's so much on the line here now, and the left, the communist left, I don't even like calling them Democrats anymore. They're full
Yeah.
blown communists.
Yeah. I
But
mean, you just look at
what
what these
they
people say, when they're out, these Democrats. I mean,
Yeah, we
it's
believe them.
insane.
We believe that they are honestly telling the truth when they talk about some of the communist totalitarianism that they want for this country. I mean, we're just going to assume that they're being truthful
Yeah.
because communists are generally pretty straightforward. That's why they wrote the manifesto about these things. Like they're unmasking themselves for what they truly are, and at the same time you have a Republican establishment, the Columbus cartel, as we disaffectionately call them. You have them totally in bed with some of these outright communist companies that want nothing but the worst for you and your family. We're going into an election where young people age 40 and under, maybe 45 and under, to loop myself in, are absolutely super pissed off with Republicans for not delivering on their campaign promises. You have I mean, they're not the biggest voting bloc, obviously, not yet. Maybe it's 60 years old and up is still the massive voting bloc, but in a midterm election, when the base turnout is so critical, it's probably not very smart to sit there and turn around and start attacking the people who are simply angry with you for not doing what you said you were going to do the last time.
Yeah.
And this is my overarching caution and concern and red alert for this coming election. Like, all of these things could be coming together at the most worst time possible for us. And these people are just piling on because they can't help themselves, apparently.
Right. They have no one to blame but themselves.
Right.
And
Right.
they think that their voters are so dumb that they're not paying attention to the world around them, that they don't see what's happening. They don't see the fact that they voted to send $600 million to the billionaire Haslam family. They don't see the fact that their property tax bills have skyrocketed 20, 30, 40, 50% in the last couple of years. That they don't see that there are data centers buying up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres everywhere across the state, totally demolishing farmland, destroying tiles, flooding areas, destroying property values. And not only that, but then they get 30-year tax abatements and sales tax abatements. They pay nothing while all of us pay more electricity, The property tax burden is spread out across the rest of the people that do pay the property taxes of all, because you think about these giant facilities, if they're not paying property tax, well, then who is? It's the
Right.
residents,
Right.
so they see these failure
At
after
least
failure
when
after
the
failure.
farmers, yeah, at least when the farmers are using this farmland to grow food, there was some tax revenue coming off of that instead of a 30 or 50-year tax abatement.
Yes.
So they're getting rid of our ability to grow food and ushering in the AI era that is like forecast to replace 75% of most jobs, promising us, oh, this is just like the advent of the computer. There's just going to be, oh, you bring in humanoid robotics. I mean, we're getting a little bit down the rabbit trail here,
Yeah.
but the point is, there's a lot on the line in these elections, and for them to be sitting there throwing gasoline on the fire of the anger and frustration amongst the Republican base and the independent base, quite frankly, which enough has historically crossed and voted for Ohio Republicans that Republicans have been very successful for the last several election cycles, to be throwing gas on the fire of their outrage and frustration right now, before the November elections, as we gear up for the hardest part of the election, which is after Labor Day all the way through November 3rd. It's political retardation level, political operations.
Yeah, and you
So,
would just think that they would want to get a gun win under their belt heading into that. I mean,
yeah,
you would think
yeah,
so,
yeah.
but yet,
Instead, they turn around and attack us. So, we could probably sit here and go on about this for an hour. I'll just,
yeah, I know I could.
like I said, I'm just going to kind of wrap up with the first point that I made, that ultimately these attacks on you guys and the members of Ohio gun owners, it has nothing to do with us and everything to do with the establishment. We here at OGO, we advocate for our members, nobody else, by the way. We advocate for our members for the Second Amendment. Period. End of paragraph. No apologies offered. We raise money from our supporters, and we use those resources and your political action to mobilize gun voters in every single district to get the political outcome that we are all battling for. We don't exist to represent them to you. We exist to represent you to them. That's our job as a gun rights organization. But here's the establishment getting pissed off because we actually do it. We
Yep.
force those votes. We expose bad votes. We tell gun owners exactly what these politicians in Columbus are doing and who is bankrolling them. And their response is to attack Ohio gun owners for fundraising and paying people to advocate for our membership who voluntarily funds this organization. Like Rob said at the beginning, they desperately want you to focus on that instead of what they are doing, and that is stabbing you in the back by joining the Democrats to vote
Right.
no on removing Ohio's restrictions on SBRs and suppressors. Meanwhile, like you just said, man, the legislature is raising the signature requirements for citizen referendums on these data centers. They're restricting public records involving these data centers. They're handing out tax giveaways to these data centers while ordinary Ohioans are watching their electricity bills and their property taxes and I'm like, if you're young and you want to go buy a house, the property values just soar to the moon. Unobtainium for some of these people now. The legislature sits on their hands while these flock cameras are going up all over the state. They hand out $600 million to the Cleveland Browns Haslam family,
Yep.
for their football stadium. They do all of this, like I said, I actually remember this quote very much. They do all of this while they're bending over backwards for their billionaire donors and the trillion-dollar companies that they own. But their big concern, let's go attack Ohio gun owners because they're actually fighting for their members on the Second Amendment. Ohio Gun Owners is a membership-based and driven organization. Our members fund us to fight for them, and that is exactly